People sometimes accuse WWE of living in the past with its reliance on part-timers like Goldberg, but in actuality, WWE is a lot better for that in 2017 than it was 10 years ago. 2006 was a weird year for nostalgia. At SummerSlam, Mick Foley wrestled, Hulk Hogan wrestled, Ric Flair wrestled, Vince McMahon wrestled, DX was back, ECW was back. Only the presence of John Cena and Batista in world title matches gave any indication that WWE was still planning ahead. It wasn't a bad SummerSlam by any means, just a really, really strange one. I'm Plumpy from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 fascinating facts about SummerSlam 2006. Number 10, Boston became the first city to host all Big Five pay-per-views. Not even the hallowed Madison Square Garden can lay claim to this one, unless MSG finds a way to host a King of the Ring pay-per-view. Please don't. As of SummerSlam 2006, Boston became the first city to score each of the Big Five. Their first was the 1993 Survivor Series at the classic Boston Garden, followed by WrestleMania 14 in 1998. King of the Ring 2000 followed, then the 2003 Royal Rumble. SummerSlam 2006 made Beantown the first of only two cities to manage this distinction. The other is Philadelphia, who actually pulled it off later that year with Survivor Series 2006. Philly deserves all the love it can for being subjected to King of the Ring 95. Number 9, Undertaker vs. KHALI was moved to SmackDown. The great KHALI lumbered onto the WWE scene in April 2006 like a chimney stack with legs and all the wrestling ability that comes with that. Taker and KHALI fought at Judgment Day, with KHALI winning in squash-like fashion, oh no, setting up a rematch at Great American Bash inside the brand new Punjabi prison. KHALI would not be in that match after he was found to have elevated liver enzymes, postponing the blow-off until SummerSlam, which didn't even happen. WWE officials were skittish about putting KHALI in televised matches due to his poor performances, and also he needed double knee surgery. Rather than risk a KHALI without knees stinking up a pay-per-view, his blow-off match with Undertaker was tucked away on the go-home SmackDown in a last man standing match. Undertaker won, and KHALI disappeared for 2 months before ending up on the ECW brand like the ghost of Paul Heyman would have wanted. Number 8, Kurt Angle lobbied to get into the ECW title match. On Sunday, August 13th, 2006, Kurt Angle lost a house show match to Rob Van Dam in White Plains. That loss to Van Dam would end up being Angle's final WWE match to date. Prior to Angle's unconditional release on August 25th, out of concerns for his deteriorating health, he apparently tried to convince officials to put him in the ECW Championship match at SummerSlam between Big Show and Sabu. This was despite racking up a groin injury in the match with Ronald Van Donald. Kurt Angle's hyper-competitive spirit made it hard for him to sit on the sidelines for any length of time, and was a contributing factor to him running himself into terrifying ill health before his release. Number 7, Hogan suffered a knee injury before the show. After SummerSlam 2005 was a massive success, he can't blame WWE for going to the Hogan well one more time. Hulkamania would have one last match at SummerSlam 2006, stemming from an angle on Saturday night's main event where Orton RKO'd Hogan on the trunk of a car, and also something about Hogan knows best. Hogan's knees, however, didn't know best. That was a tenuous link. A little more than 2 weeks before the pay-per-view, WWE.com reported that Hogan suffered a knee injury after performing the simple act of standing up from his sofa. Well, to be fair, he was almost 53 and had sustained plenty of wear and tear as a working wrestler over multiple decades. MRI results indicated that Hogan had a partially torn meniscus. To recuperate, Hogan missed the go-home Raw on August 14th, which just so happened to coincide with a big company-wide drug test, and then he made it to SummerSlam to go over Orton. Number 6, it was Hogan's last WWE match. 21 years earlier, Hulk Hogan took part in the very first Saturday night's main event, wrestling Cowboy Bob Orton for the WWE Championship. Little did he realize he would wrestle what is now almost certainly his final WWE bout against the Cowboy's then 5-year-old son, Randall Keith Orton. After coming to an impasse with McMahon regarding his WrestleMania 23 involvement, Hogan strayed from WWE, wrestling the remainder of his career on independent ventures that he promoted, as well as TNA. To date, the last match Hogan ever wrestled in was on January 27th, 2012, teaming with Sting and James Storm against Bully Ray, Bobby Roode, and Kurt Angle in Manchester, England as part of TNA's annual tour. God save our gracious Queen. Number 5, Mick Foley was considered for a match against CENA. Mick Foley's 2006 heel turn demonstrated some truly inspired work from a man that had functionally retired in 2000. His trampling on the blood and guts of ECW was earning him some very real heat, and he was more than holding up his ends of feuds with Terry Funk, Tommy Dreamer, and one with Ric Flair, which was based on comments Flair made about Foley in his autobiography. Before being assigned the Nature Boy, plans were for Foley to wrestle John Cena at SummerSlam in Boston, but those plans changed shortly after One Night Stand. McMahon didn't want Foley and Flair to blow off their issue at the secondary Vengeance event, instead wanted to stretch it out until SummerSlam. Number 4, RVD's arrest benefited Flair and Foley. Foley and the Nature Boy put on a surprisingly barbaric match at SummerSlam, especially for two men that list bleeding like a motherfucker on their resumes as special skills. It was a wholly gruesome spectacle, one made a bit more heated by their barred promos beforehand. Foley believes that Rob Van Dam's arrest for drug possession in early July 2006 had an unexpected benefit for the match with Flair. The Raw following RVD's arrest was supposed to feature a six-man tag where Flair and Foley would be on opposite teams. After Foley left Flair a bloody mess at Vengeance, Mick wanted to avoid physicality with Flair for a number of weeks leading up to the pay-per-view so their war would seem fresh. RVD's arrest necessitated changing the format for Raw, and the six-man was off. Number 3, Batista and Booker T's Barney. 3 months before squaring off for the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam 2006, Batista and King Booker joined other wrestlers in taking part in a commercial for the SummerSlam pay-per-view. Batista apparently had some heat on him for comments he made in early 2005, disparaging the SmackDown roster, and when he joined the show later in that year, those feelings hadn't entirely subsided. Batista is alleged to have breached etiquette by not shaking hands with everyone present at the shoot, and an infuriated Booker T called him out on it. Booker then challenged him to a fight, and Batista accepted. By most accounts, Booker did the most damage, ending up on top of Batista and having to be pulled off by other wrestlers. Finlay, however, claims that Batista won the scuffle, noting that Booker had a swollen eye. Number 2, HBK signed a substantial WWE contract that weekend. The revitalized D-Generation X gave both Triple H and Shawn Michaels something a little different to do, mostly talking about cocks. As much as the 2006 DX wasn't quite up to the same standards as their run a decade earlier, fans bought merch by the boatload, proving that Trips, and especially Michaels, still had much to offer WWE, and the brass concurred. The weekend of SummerSlam, HBK signed a 5-year contract with a minimum downside of $1.5 million a year. He wouldn't be an active wrestler for the duration of the deal, retiring months before the 4th year ended. Nonetheless, with the early success of the DX revival and the fact that he was still Shawn Michaels between the ropes, the company wanted to make sure that HBK was a part of their future for as long as possible. And number 1, it was the only SummerSlam where heels retained all 3 world titles. Though Hogan and D-Generation X doled out feel-good moments for fans that thrived on nostalgia, SummerSlam 2006 was kind of a downer otherwise. They were the only babyfaces that scored decisive, pleasant victories, aside from Flair maiming Foley in a somewhat uncomfortable match. There were 3 world title matches on the night with heels holding the belts. All 3 retained, beginning with ECW champion Big Show's win over Sabu in a clunky style clash. Batista did defeat World Heavyweight Champion King Booker, but by disqualification, prolonging the feud for a few more months. And speaking of prolonging, Edge retained the WWE Championship over John Cena in the night's best match, which set up Cena's win the following month at Unforgiven. Turns out the days of SummerSlam as a stage where blow-offs would take place were one of the only things that WWE were happy to leave in the past. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Tell us about it in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'm Plumpy from WhatCulture.com, and I'll see you soon.